So today we're reading the Telltale Heart. It starts on page 3, and we're at page backwards C in your study guide. Okay, I'm going to read it, you're going to follow along, and we're going to pause as we get to the questions. Madison, are you ready? Oh, yeah. Would you like that? Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I sure would.
Yes, Cameron.
Page
3. Page 3. Page 3. Yeah. We're like synchronized right there. All right. True, nervous and very, very dreadfully nervous. I had been and am. But why will you say that I'm mad? The disease, there's a disease. The disease had sharpened my senses, not destroyed, not dulled them. Above all was the sense of hearing acute. Vocab word acute, remember what it means?
Small.
Sharp.
Yeah,
Close. Yeah, it means sharp. So he's really good at hearing. Somehow his sickness makes him really good at hearing. Weird. I heard all things in the heaven and in the earth, and I heard many things in hell. What? Yeah. How then am I mad? Hearken and observe how healthily and how calmly I can tell you the whole story. So number 1, I'm going to shut the door. What's up with his sense of hearing?
It's
really good.
It's really good. That's right.
Wait, can I have a drink real fast?
No.
What, Bryson?
Can I get a drink real fast?
No, not right now. His sense of hearing is really good, and it's because of some sickness that he has. I don't know about that, but okay. Here we go. Also, he tells us that he is not what?
Ill. He's not dumb.
Mad is the word that he uses.
I mean bad. Yeah.
It's impossible to say how first the idea entered my brain, but once conceived, it haunted me day and night. Object there was none. Passion there was none. I loved the old man. He had never wronged me. He had never given me insult. What's it mean to give someone insult?
You're stupid.
That's right.
Ugly.
For his gold, Bryson, you're very distracting right now. I do not want you to get up anymore to get your snacks. You're good. And I want you to just not say anything to other students like I just saw. So follow along. What page should you be on right now?
2.
Close.
No.
3. Get there. Zip it. I love the old man. He had never wronged me. He had never given me insult, and for his gold I had no desire. I think it was his eye. Yeah, it was this. That's right, that face is right. Correct, Cameron. One of his eyes resembled that of a vulture, a pale blue eye with a film over it. And whenever it fell on me, my blood ran cold. And so, by degrees, very gradually, I made up my mind to take the life of the old man, and thus rid myself of the eye forever. Okay, so let's talk about this really quickly. He is a number 2. He's an old man's caretaker. That's why this old man is here. What's it mean to be a caretaker?
Take care of this stuff.
Take care of the old
That's
man.
right. So we've got CNAs and nurses who work in nursing homes, but sometimes you have like home health aides or people who care for old people while they still live in their own house. So that's what he does. He takes care of this old guy. However, he doesn't dislike the old guy. The old guy is nice to him. He doesn't insult him. He has no like jealousy or want of all the old man's riches, which apparently he has some. What's the one thing about this old man that he's like,
His eyeball.
his eyeball. Can you imagine being like, ew, I don't like your eyeball.
So you're getting
Yeah, if it's gross, then you're like,
I believe you, Cameron. I believe you.
I just
So,
leave the room.
so he hates his gross eyeball. It's like gooey and there's a film over it and it's like a vulture. So I get it. What's it gonna do about it?
He's gonna kill
Logical. Yeah, he's like, I don't like your eyeball,
Yeah.
your gross eye, so I'm gonna kill you.
him.
That's right. That seems a little
Didn't he
excessive.
suffocate him with the mattress?
Yes, he threw a mattress on top of him.
Kinda, yeah. So that's number 3. The eyeball is causing him so much grief. Oh, and number 4, he's gonna kill him. I don't know about you, but if someone decides they're gonna kill someone because of a gross eye that they don't like, a little detail of someone's appearance, would we
You got
call
issues.
Right. Which we know that Poe, our author, did have issues, many issues. So again, we see a case of an author like writing their experience into their piece of work. Weird. Okay. Pardon? We don't know. Every year we talk about that like, wait a minute, did Poe, was he secretly a murderer? Are there unsolved deaths from the 1800s that he was responsible for?
I believe it.
I don't know. Yeah, a lot of students believe so, based on the stories that we read. I don't know. All right, page 4. Now this is the point. You fancy me mad. You think I'm crazy. Oh, and I think he's okay. He's got a pencil in his hand. Thank you. But madmen know nothing. You should have seen me. You should have seen how wisely I proceeded, and with what caution, with what foresight, with what dissimulation, which you remember from vocabulary means making choices, that I went to work. I was never kinder to the old man than during the whole week before I killed him. And every night, about midnight, I turned the latch of his door, and I opened it, oh, so gently. And then, when I had made an opening sufficient for my head, I put in a dark lantern, so a lantern that's not light yet, all closed so that no light shone out, and then I thrust in my head. Oh, you would have laughed to see how cunningly I thrust it in. I moved slowly, very slowly, so that I might not disturb the old man's sleep. It took me an hour to place my whole head within the opening so far that I could see him as he lay upon his bed. Would a madman been so wise as this? I think that's a rhetorical question that we can answer in our own heads.
Yes.
Yeah, the answer is, yeah, I think so, Mr. Poe. So he says, for an entire hour, he's like, open the doorknob.
Oh, I got that done in 2 seconds.
Right? He takes an entire hour to get his head and the light in there to like look, so he doesn't. I'm a mom. I have to move in bedrooms sometimes of my sleeping children, and I'm really good at it. Sometimes I think about myself, and I'm like, oh, Laura, you're so good at this. This guy beats me. He's very good. Okay, so number 5, how long does he lurk on him? And number 6, how long did it take him to get his head into the door crack?
1 hour.
It took number 6 an hour, and did it tell us how many days? I think it
we
did.
used to say an hour.
I think it was a week. Hunter, did you see it? Beep, 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 beep. The whole week before. Yep, so we did it for every day for a week.
That's a little weird.
It's so weird, and he just told us, and he'll do it more. He's like, no, I'm not crazy.
You're crazy.
I think your actions are speaking pretty loudly, Mr. Unnamed narrator, who we can always picture as Poe. Are you picturing Poe when you're reading this? I am.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, moving on.
Sort of.
Let's see. And then, when my head was well into the room, I undid the lantern cautiously, oh so cautiously, for the hinges creaked, had to be careful, it was creaky. And I undid it just so much that a single thin ray fell upon his vulture eye. That's amazing how he could be like, and it was like, boom. And I did this for 7 long nights, every night, just at midnight. But I found the eye was always closed. Weird. Why is his eye always closed? He's sleeping. Yeah. So it was impossible to do the work, for it was not the old man who vexed me, but his evil eye. But honestly, if he's just going to like cut out an eye, I don't think it matters if it's like closed or not. I mean, just get rid of the eye instead of murdering the human, right? And you can wear an eye patch. I know. Right. So we're very sensible and logical, you and I. This guy,
You gotta die.
That's right. And he can't do it when his eye is closed. Come on, man. Okay. Every morning, when the day broke, I went boldly into the chamber, and I spoke courageously to him, calling him by name in a hearty tone, and inquiring how he had passed the night. So, hello, old man. How did you sleep? Okay, great, wonderful. So you see, he would have been a very profound old man, like super smart, to suspect that every night, just at 12, I looked in on him while he slept. Upon the 8th night, that's a question, I think. Number 7, how does he act in the mornings? Nice,
Very
chill.
nice.
Yeah, he's like, oh, hello, my very favorite person that I take care of. How'd you sleep? Okay, great. Yeah, nothing weird happened at night where you were sleeping at all. Nothing. Okay, cool.
I'm not crazy.
Right. I'm not crazy. Yeah. Upon the 8th night, so the next night after the week, I was more than usually cautious in opening the door. Here we go again. A watch's minute hand moves more quickly than did mine, so he's slower than time. Never before that night had I felt the extent of my own powers, of my sagacity, my mental cunningness. I could scarcely contain my feelings of triumph. To think that there I was, opening the door, little by little, and he not even to dream of my secret thoughts or deeds. I fairly chuckled at the idea, and perhaps he heard me, for he moved on the bed suddenly as if startled. Now you may think that I drew back, but no. His room was as black as pitch with the thick darkness, for the shutters were close fastened, through fear of robbers. Also, it was nighttime, so yeah, man, it was dark. And so, I knew that he could not see the opening of the door, and I kept on pushing steadily and steadily. I had my head in, and I was about to open up the lantern, like he always does, with my thumb, and when my thumb slipped upon the tin fastening, and the old man sprang up in the bed and said, "Who's there?" So he heard him. What made him wake? Oh, I think that's your next question. 8. What makes the old man wake up?
Yeah, stuttering.
It's not the sound, the light. It's the sound. Yeah. He heard him. Whoops-a-doodle, you made a tiny sound there, Mr. Unnamed Narrator, but we'll call you Poe. I kept quite still and said nothing, which is what I do when I'm sneaking around. And I have a closet in Scarlett's room, so sometimes I'm like, oh, I need to go get something out of there while she's sleeping. And I'm like, and if she hears me or moves, I'm like, and I just wait for her to go back to sleep because it's dark in there. Yeah, and then I'm like, getting out of there. Okay. So I kept quite still, and I said nothing. And for a whole hour, I didn't move a muscle. So he's frozen there for an hour. He really loves hours for some reason. In the meantime, I did not hear him lie down. He was still sitting up in the bed listening, just as I have done night after night, hearkening to the death watches in the wall. And I've got a note in your study guide. What's a death watch?
A beetle.
A beetle. So not only is this narrator like standing still for an hour, but this old guy is like up in his bed like, for an hour, these two weirdos are just silently like waiting. It's a lot of time. When you have movies, I just watched a movie. I watched A Quiet Place. And I thought of you, Madison, because they use an actual deaf actor, and I thought that was very cool. So that's cool. Anyway, in A Quiet Place, which is filled with silence, and a little bit of silence. Anyway, it's filled with silence. And what happens to you as you're experiencing a lot of waiting and a lot of...
Get bored.
You
Yeah,
could,
it's boring.
but as a movie maker or as a storyteller, what do you anticipate at the end of like a quiet time? Yeah, a boom, something big. So that's what they're both doing right now. Okay. Presently, I heard a slight groan, and I knew it was the groan of mortal terror, so he's afraid of dying. It was not a groan of pain or of grief. Nope. It was the low, stifled sound that arises from the bottom of the soul when charged with awe. So it's like, I don't know what it is, but scary. I knew the sound well. Many a night, just at midnight, when all the world slept, it swelled up from my own bosom, deepening with its dreadful echo the terrors that distract me. I say I knew it well. I knew what the old man felt, and I pitied him. Although I chuckled at heart, I knew that he had been lying awake ever since the first slight noise, and when he turned in his bed, his fears had been ever since growing upon him. So how is he feeling about scaring this old dude?
Happy.
Happy. Yeah. He had been trying to fancy them causeless, the noises, but he could not. He had been saying to himself, it's nothing but the wind in the chimney, or it's only a mouse crossing the floor, or it's merely a cricket that made a chirp. Yet he has been trying to comfort himself with these suppositions, these guesses, but he has found it all in vain, because death, in approaching him, had stalked with his black shadow before him and enveloped the victim. So our narrator is saying that death is in the room. Is death in the room?
No.
But it kind of is, because what's his plan?
It's gonna kill him.
Kill him.
So I guess, figuratively, yes. Cameron, did you have a question? Okay. It was the mournful influence of the unperceived shadow that caused him to feel, although he neither saw nor heard, to feel the presence of my head within the room. So he can tell that he's there, and it's because he knows he's going to die. I think he's reaching a little bit, but I like it.
Yeah,
it's
but
okay.
if I was asleep and I just heard,
Yeah.
I wouldn't start staying up all night.
Yeah,
Pulling out a
I wouldn't
campfire.
either. But, I don't know.
Camping out.
When I had waited a long time, very patiently, without hearing him lie down, I resolved to open a very little crevice in the lantern. So I'm going to crack it. I opened it, cannot imagine how stealthily, until at length a single dim ray, bing, like the thread of a spider, shot out from the crevice and full upon, where does it land? The eyeball, the vulture eye. It was open, wide open, and I grew furious as I gazed upon it, and I saw, with perfect distinctness, a dull blue with a hideous veil over it that chilled the very marrow in my bones. Gross. But I could not see anything else of the old man's face or person, for I had directed the ray, as if by instinct, I'm so great, precisely upon the damned spot. Ooh, there's a swear word. That's always fun. And now, have I not told you what you must mistake for madness? No, it's not. It's over acuteness of the senses. So our narrator, is saying, I'm not crazy. What's going on with him mentally that's so different than us? Acuteness of the senses. What does that mean?
He's sharply aware of what's going
That's
on.
right, Owen. Great. He's sharply aware of everything. I would argue and say, no, you're just crazy, and you're hearing these things that aren't actually happening. You're hallucinating, but that's just me. Okay.
But the old man is actually the one killing.
Right.
the
I don't
young
know.
man.
Okay. Now I say, there came to my ears a low, dull, quick sound, such as a watch make when enveloped in cotton. Anyone have a watch that actually ticks anymore? Okay, cool. Well, we know what a tick sounds like. And I knew that sound well, too. Not a watch. It was the beating of the old man's heart. And it increased my fury as the beating of a drum stimulates the soldiers into courage. Can you literally hear other people's heartbeats? Yeah, you can. How do you do it?
You
With
get
one of those ear.
With one of those ear things, we call them stethoscopes. Yep,
Yeah,
we
those
play with them at
thingies.
home. Yep. But with your regular naked ears, can you hear that kind of stuff?
No.
Yep.
Oh, can you really? I guess if you put your head to someone's
but
chest. Yeah.
I was going a little farther.
Yeah,
than,
but true. Yeah. So you can, but can you guys hear my chest right now?
No, it's too loud in here.
It was quiet there. Could you hear it there?
No.
Okay. So if he thinks he can hear the old man's chest, what's up with that?
Let's go really close.
Right. Maybe he's really close. Maybe he's imagining it. Maybe he really can. Maybe he really does have acute senses. I don't know. 9. What does it mean when we better answer a couple of questions. What does it mean when the old man says that night after night he himself has stayed up listening to the death watches in the wall, the beetles in the wall? What's that? What's our narrator's life like?
Like,
creepy.
sad.
Creepy sad. He stays up and he can't sleep night after night. That's a problem someone should work on. That's insomnia. And specifically, if Poe, he doesn't say beetles. I had to look up what death watches were. I was imagining like little soldiers in the wall, which they kind of are. But Cameron, if Poe, instead of saying beetles in the wall, he's listening to the bugs and the sounds in his house, which you have to really listen to hear. He doesn't say beetles. He uses the word death watches. What does that do to us emotionally as a reader?
Way.
Scares
It scares us. Just the word death watch. We're like, wait, what? It brings us an emotion of like, just a little bit. Nice job, Poe. 10. The old man's groan. Why did he groan?
He died.
Yeah, well, he knew that he was going to. He knew. I don't know.
Scared.
So in 10, he was scared that he was going to die. 11, why did he laugh at it? Our narrator, he's like, ha 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 ha. Ha ha.
Because he's
He did.
crazy.
That's right. He's crazy. He's
sick,
mean.
twisted meanie.
He's a sick, twisted meanie. You bet. Number 12. What did he hear and how did he feel about it? Has he heard anything else yet? Oh, no, he hasn't. Okay. Where are we?
Down at the very last line.
Perfect. But even yet, I refrained and I kept still. I scarcely breathed. I held the lantern motionless, and I tried how steadily I could maintain the ray upon the eye. Meantime, the hellish tattoo of the heart increased. Oh, 12, that's what he heard. He hears the sound of the heart. How's he feel about it?
You don't like it.
Hates it.
Well, specifically, he says it felt to him like the same way that drums make the soldier feel. What do drums do to us? They make our heart go, yeah. We're like, oh yeah. When you hear like a good song and it's got like a driving beat to it, it's supposed to like, yeah, that's like what people listen to at a loud concert and they get pumped up, or when you're getting ready to work out. Same concept, more modern, but anyway, it's making him excited. All right. Meantime, it grew quicker and quicker, the heart did, and louder every instant. The old man's terror must have been extreme. It grew louder every moment. Listen, do you mark me well? I've told you that I'm nervous, so I am. And now, at the dead hour of the night, amidst the dreadful silence of that old house, so strange a noise as this, the heartbeat, excited me to uncontrollable terror. So now how is he feeling?
Scared.
Scared. Yet for some minutes longer I refrained and I stood still, but the beating grew louder and louder, and I thought the heart must burst. And now a new anxiety seized me. The sound would be heard by a neighbor. This heartbeat is so loud that what might happen with my neighbors?
What's
going on in here? Yeah. Hey, I hear someone's heartbeat. Is everyone okay? Like, wow. Okay. The old man's hour had come. With a loud yell, I threw open the lantern and I leaped into the room, and he shrieked once only. And in an instant, I dragged him to the floor and I pulled the heavy bed over him, and I then smiled gaily to find the deed so far done. For many minutes, the heart beat on with a muffled sound. This, however, did not vex me. What's it mean to vex? Mm-hmm. Yeah, in a negative way. It didn't make me mad. It would be not heard through the wall. Ha ha. At length, it ceased, and the old man was dead. I removed the bed, examined the corpse. Yep, he was stone dead. I placed my hand upon the heart, and I held it there many minutes, and there was no pulsation. Dead. His eye would trouble me no more. Ha ha. So number 13, what did he think that a neighbor might hear?
The heart.
Yep. 14, you already knew this, I realized, but we're going through the details. How did he kill the guy?
With the bed.
With the bed. He pulled it over in the mattress and he was like, smell. I don't know if he pushed it down or if he just let the weight of it go, but
Laid on it.
it doesn't say that. So, if you still think me mad, you will no longer when I describe to you the wise precaution I took for the concealment of the body. This is an interesting sentence. He's like, if you still think that I'm mad, you won't after I told you what I did with the body. But knowing what's happening, I think that you might think he's even more mad, right?
Chopped it up and ate it.
Right. No, he didn't eat it. That would make it, take it to a new level. But he did. He
Be
chopped
careful.
it up.
That's nice.
Threw it
It
under
would
the house.
be. It would.
I think it needs some salt.
After we
Threw it
figure
under the
out,
house.
knowing that, does that make you think he's, like, less crazy?
No.
Right.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
No.
Well, because, like, if you, like, murdered some
Yeah.
homeless, poor, innocent old man,
Yeah.
and then you, like, cooked them up and made some fried chicken, that'd be pretty messed up.
Yeah. There is no cannibalism in the story. That
Yeah,
just
so
happens.
he didn't do anything like that.
Okay. Oh, you're saying because he didn't eat him, we can be like, oh, he's not so crazy?
Yeah.
I guess that's valid. All right.
That's a delicious steak.
Let's see.
Heck no.
The night waned, and I worked hastily, but in silence. It's quiet again. First of all, I dismembered the corpse. I cut off the head and the arms and the legs.
Okay, never mind. That's messed up.
Thank you. Right. So he's saying, don't worry. Once I tell you what I did, you'll think that I'm totally normal.
No, you're actually just making it worse.
Yeah.
That's pretty dang normal to me.
Okay. I then took up 3 planks from the flooring in the room, and I deposited all between the scantlings, the skinny little floorboards. I replaced the boards so cleverly, so cunningly, that no human eye, not even his, could have detected anything wrong.
Are you sure about that? He's
Right?
in the house.
Right?
Let me out!
There was nothing to wash out.
Suck if he
Oh,
was
this
still
is
alive.
important.
Yeah.
Just until the smell kicks
Yeah.
in.
Oh, when
That's
I
right.
cut off your head,
Yeah, the
you know,
smell's
I
gonna
mean,
come in too. It probably does smell somewhat right now. Okay, here's a question on your study guide. There was nothing to wash out, no stain of any kind, no blood spot, whatever. I watch a lot of murder shows on TV. There's always blood. They're always messy.
But
I
he's-
had been too wary for that. A tub had caught it all. Ha ha. All right, so number 16 and 15. Let's do 16 first. Why does he say there's no mess?
Because he
Nope. No.
suffocated and chopped the dude up in the bathroom.
Oh,
No,
he
no,
chopped
no.
him up.
Because he
Okay.
cleaned up all the blood.
That's right. He cleaned it up. He put a tub out, like some big, like, metal thing to catch all the. Because chopped off the arms and the legs. That's messy.
Delicious.
Right. And 15, as you know, is he put them under the floorboards. And then he put the floor back. There's a board at my sister's house, at my sister's room, in my parents' house, which is my old room. And you can take off it's like a hidey place. You can take off the floorboards, and then there's like this subfloor down there, and we would put things in there. My parents don't know about it. So
At my grandma's
that's a
house.
thing.
That's the thing. What you do
At my
when you
grandma's
don't
house,
want
they
to
have
see your
this.
parents.
They don't use it anymore, but they had this latch where it has this hole.
Yeah, and you
when
pull
you
it.
pull it up,
Yeah.
it goes right down into the
Yes, that's what I'm picturing right now. Okay, almost done. When I had made an end of these labors, when I was done, it was 4 o'clock in the a.m., still dark as midnight. As the bell sounded the hour, there came a knocking at the street door. Uh-oh. I went down to open it with a light heart, for what had I now to fear? Why should I be afraid? There entered 3 men who introduced themselves with perfect suavity as officers of the police. A shriek had been heard by a neighbor during the night, suspicion of foul play had been aroused, information had been lodged at the police office, and they had been deputed to search the premises. So we called the police, why?
I think it was
Because they
foul
like-
play.
Yeah, they heard it.
Oh, no.
That's right.
You have no warrant. Come at me, copper.
That is
You just
also
walk
true.
in there.
Well,
It's
they,
Now without a warrant.
Yeah.
maybe like in the olden days, they didn't need a
You could
warrant.
just
No,
walk
they
in
still
there
needed
and be
a
like,
warrant back then.
You just walk in
I
some
don't
guy's
know.
house.
Maybe they asked to come in, but it doesn't matter. If you remember, they don't need a warrant because he's like, oh, come in, everyone, because he's so proud of so I guess warrant schmorrant. I smiled. What did I to fear? I bade the gentleman welcome. The shriek, I said, oh, it was my own in a dream. The old man, I mentioned, oh, he's absent in the country. I took my visitors all over the house and I bade them search well. He's so proud. He's like, go ahead, I dare you, look around this house. There's nothing.
They open the
Yeah.
No, they
I
They
showed
opened
them
it
his
every-
treasures.
What's that?
I showed them his treasures, secure and undisturbed. In the enthusiasm of my confidence, I brought chairs into the room and I desired them here to rest from their fatigues. So sit down, you're probably tired. While I myself, in the wild audacity, my boldness of my perfect triumph, I placed my own seat upon the very spot beneath which reposed the corpse of the victim. So where did he sit?
On the man's dead body.
Man,
Wait a minute,
man.
wait a minute.
Yes,
He said
I
first.
farted, my bad.
first what?
First triumph or whatever.
Sorry, that's my farts.
Okay, that was his first victim.
Oh, did he say first? He said perfect triumph.
Oh.
The officers were satisfied. My manner, so his calm manner, had convinced them, which is true when I watch my murder shows. The police look for twitchy, scared and nervousness when someone's done bad and they're like, oh no, you're gonna find out. So he's not like that. He's very calm. They sat while I answered cheerily, and they chatted familiar things. But before long, I felt myself getting pale, and I wished them gone. My head ached, and I fancied a ringing in my ears. But still, they sat and still chatted, and the ringing became more distinct, and it continued, and it became more distinct. And I talked more freely to get rid of the feeling, but it continued, and it gained definitiveness until at length I found that the noise was not within my ears at all. No doubt. Right? What, Cameron?
It's beneath him.
What? Yeah, it's beneath them.
It's the old man going let me out of here.
Yeah. No
Get
doubt.
What's that noise?
Get me out of here.
No
You
doubt.
see his arm just go.
No doubt I grew very pale, but I talked. No doubt I grew very pale, but I talked more fluently with a heightened voice. Yet the sound increased, and what can I do? It was a low, dull, quick sound, much like a sound as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I gasped for breath, and yet the officers heard it not, and I talked more quickly, more vehemently, but the noise steadily increased. And I arose and I argued about trifles, silly little things that don't matter, in a high key with violent gesticulations. What's a gesticulation?
Hand movement.
Thank you.
When you go like,
But the noise steadily increased. Why would they not be gone? Probably because you didn't ask them to leave and they didn't know anything was wrong, but all right. No narrator. I paced the floor to and fro with heavy strides as if excited by fury to the observation of the men, but the noise steadily increased. God, what could I do? I foamed. So he's foaming at the mouth, I guess, so that's really gross.
That's
And I raved, and I swore, and I swung the chair upon which I had been sitting, and I grated it upon the boards, but the noise arose over all, and continually it increased. It grew louder and louder, so he's like walking, he's like, and these men are just like, oh, I know, and that day was just wonderful, and blah, 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 blah. And then he kicks his chair, and what does he do?
Over the wall.
Yay! No, it's in the floor, not in the wall. On the floor. And all the while the men chatted pleasantly, and they smiled. Was it possible that they heard not, that they didn't hear this?
Is
it
see this
possible?
guy over here throwing the shit around?
They saw, yeah, what's going on?
He's like,
Maybe he didn't do it, I don't know. No, they heard, they suspected, they knew. They were making a mockery of my horror. This I thought, and this I still think. But anything was better than this agony. Anything was more tolerable than this derision. Ooh, do you remember the vocab word derision? It's something that you say. Is it nice or not nice?
That's not nice.
It's not nice, that's right. So they're making fun of him.
You
That's
big
what he
meanie.
thinks. He's paranoid. I could hear those hypocritical smiles no longer. I felt that I must scream or die. And now, again, louder, 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 villains! I shrieked, dissemble no more! So stop hiding it. I know you know. I admit the deed. Tear up the planks. Here is the beating of his hideous heart. Oh my goodness. He confessed. Did they make him confess?
No,
he was just nervous.
I
Yeah,
know.
I got
Down.
away with it too.
Right. He would have gotten away with it. I know. Let's answer your questions. 17, I think, is where we are.
He's over here going.
Cameron, 17. Take a look at your study guide questions. Let's finish it. Cameron, how did he feel about his work?
diabetic.
Hunter, how did he feel about his work?
Good.
Good. He was
He
like,
was
I did
dang
such
proud
a
of
he
it.
was dang proud of it. 18. Oh, and why were the police there?
Because they heard the neighbor heard a scream.
Yep. Neighbor was like, oh, did you hear a scream? Honey, go call the police. So they did the thing that people do.
There were phones.
19. Anthony, how did he fool the officers?
Being really nice.
Yeah, being really nice and really calm. Yeah.
Yeah.
He gave them lots of great answers. Let's see, Bryson, what did he say that the shriek was? Madison,
Oh, sorry, I had a nightmare.
Madison, what did he say that the shriek was?
The old man, he yelled.
What? No.
Because the other
brought this on
guy,
yourself.
he like tried to kill him.
He did, but that's not what he told us. Oh, were you saying? Were you acting out the
Yes,
answer?
I did. And
I'm
you're like,
so sorry.
I don't care.
Well,
Yes.
I'm so sorry. You do a little. It's hard to. I thought. Yeah, I'm so sorry, Bryson. You were actually acting out the answer. You're right. He said that he had a nightmare.
Yeah.
I thought that was just you, like, I don't know, going crazy a little bit.
He's always
My bad. Bryson, again, where did he say the old guy was?
On the floorboard right there. I see his awful.
No. Where did he tell the old man that the old man was?
Out of town.
Yeah, he's out of town. He's like visiting
He's like,
some
yeah,
friends and
country.
family.
Side
Yeah.
of the country.
Clayton, where'd they sit?
In the room over the body.
Right over the body. It's so ironic. It's like locationally, physically ironic. And 23, how about Damon? Why did he give himself away? What turned on him?
The ticking in his head.
Yeah, he himself
His guilt.
turned his guilt, yeah. So, very importantly, this always throws students off, probably because it says Telltale and not like Tattletale, but Hunter, how was this heart Telltale? How did it tell the tale?
Cause it was like in his head.
Yeah.
It made him say what happened.
That's right.
His guilty mind.
That's right. His guilty mind heard the heart.
His guilty mind was like, hey, you killed this man, I'm gonna.
Yeah, and it
heart.
told the officers. Great. Before the bell rings really quickly, we have a couple minutes. Let's turn back to this page right here. Let's talk about this page really quickly because we didn't have time to summarize from yesterday.
Money. He had none. Women.
Wait, pause. Yes,
Free
yes,
with
yes. Just wait.
tuberculosis.
Bryson, tell us about Poe's money in general.
He was poor.
He was poor. You could even write Poe. And if you do write Poe,
Ha, ha.
you write it like this, right?
He was
Because we're getting rid of the E, and that's what you do with this sign right here. So he was Poe. Let's see. Owen, tell us about women.
They all died.
Yeah.
of tuberculosis.
He lost a lot, and tuberculosis too. Yeah.
Oh.
Family. Cameron, what do we know about family and how it relates to Poe?
family is more than family.
Oh, okay. So you're
Dating
you're talking about marrying the cousin. Good. Also, did he have a good, solid, supportive family?
No, like
No.
not really.
Yeah. So the
This
lack
guy's
of
like,
family.
Get away from me.
Yeah. So there was a lack of family, and also then like the extra family. Yeah. Fame.
None.
None. Yeah, he didn't get it.
No.
He is now. The irony is that he's super famous now, but while he was
But
alive,
that's because he was not cool. Nobody liked him.
that's right. Nobody did like him at the time.
Look,
Yeah, they thought he was
man
really
who
weird.
bumped up a dude and
Yeah.
went, "That's an eyeball."
How about death? That kind of goes around along with the ladies if we've answered that.
Like,
Anthony.
every
Tuberculosis.
woman that he's been with,
He did.
everyone-
Fame.
every woman
Anthony.
every woman that he's been with is died.
Good, yeah.
Gone.
Women and men.
Like-
Death surrounded him, and I think it's fair to say that he was a little like obsessed with it. It makes sense. I'm not mad at him for it.
Tuberculosis.
Tuberculosis was the avenue to death.
I
Yeah.
can't believe he didn't die of tuberculosis.
I
I kinda
know.
wish that
I
he
agree. And our last question,
That
Madison.
sounds really bad. But
How do we see booze or alcohol in the life of Poe? Let's see if Madison goes first.
Because all of the people died, then and his wife, she also died.
Yep.
Well, her husband, whatever.
Yep.
He was really sad and scared, so he started drinking.
That's right. Because of his heartache. It's not because he was like, hey, I bet this tastes nice. It's because of his sadness that he did a lot of boozing and his depression. Yep.
that's just
Yeah, great word. Great job.
cousin, wife didn't die.
Bring this
That's
down.
just none of this would happen.
They had like 3 mothers.